Okay, so I guess we're ready to go. A little bit late. So the Halifax Center. Okay, and the RASC believes in and practices inclusivity and diversity. The Halifax Center welcomes all with an interest in astronomy without prejudice. The stars belong to everyone. So this is our itinerary for today. Start with a photo montage and remind everyone that Judy has Explore the Universe guides for sale for, nope, not today.
All sold out.
All sold out, okay. So if you're interested in an ETU guide, I guess contact National Office. Our special presentation today is by Dr. David Turner, who will speak on the crater near Indian Point on Mahone Bay. We'll follow that with a social break, Food for the Soul by Paul Heath, News from the Board by Tony McGrath, National Council update from Judy Black, and I'll mention an outreach opportunity coming up, and we'll end with what's up in the March sky. So, April. Okay, I knew I'd missed something.
I guess it'll be cloudy.
Yeah, well, maybe not. We had better luck in March than it looked like. Okay, so we had a few better nights in March for people to do some imaging. Most notably, we had good weather for the total lunar eclipse and not bad weather, depending where you were, for the partial solar eclipse. So first image here is from Jerry Black, the Bode's Galaxy and the Cigar Galaxy, and I believe you got this at SCO, Jerry?
No, that's backyard,
No?
I think.
Oh, backyard. Okay, and lots of nice detail there. Michael Bochet sent or captured this image of the crescent moon and Venus on the 2nd of March. Once again, from his apartment building. Michael's got some good shots from the apartment building. This is Crescent Venus on the 14th, so nearing the slimmest Venus was going to get. And the partial solar eclipse from Halifax. And as I said, Halifax was lucky. There was a little sliver of clear sky to see the sunrise. Got this?
Is that from Dell or
I think it's from his apartment.
from Dell?
Oh, maybe it was Dell. Okay. Stuart Cameron captured this image of the total lunar eclipse. We can let him work them in. And Dave Chapman captured this shot of the partial solar eclipse. Nice reflections off the water. Barry Burgess captured this shot of the aurora on the 25th of March. So we did have some northern lights visible this past month. Barry Burgess image of the partial solar eclipse. Could be a fair number of these. Jason Dane. Now this is a stunning view of the northern lights. He was spending quite some time in the Yukon and was posting lots of nice single shots and time lapses of the northern lights. So if you're on Facebook, go to Jason's page and look at some of those time lapse videos. Quite stunning. Jeff Donaldson took this wide view of the early morning waning crescent moon. And here is the integrated flux nebula around Messier 81 and 82. Jeff had a total of 34.5 hours of integration time. So this is a pretty faint faint object to capture.
That must be a record for here.
I think so. Yeah, to get, I don't know how many months he had to work on that. And the Medusa Nebula, another faint target captured by Jeff Donaldson. You can find this in Gemini. And Jeff Donaldson's image of the total lunar eclipse. This shot was shown on CTV News, and ZWO contacted Jeff and asked if they could use this image in, I think, in one of their displays at NEAF. Nice shot. And Jeff's shot of the partial solar eclipse, the sun rising over the water. You can see the diffraction effect. Lisa Ann Fanning took this shot with her cell phone of the Venus and the waxing crescent moon. And here we have a nice shot of the waxing gibbous moon in daytime, again from Lisa. The sun's not been super active, but there have been plenty of sunspot groups. So I took this shot, I think there are at least 10 sunspot groups here on March 15th. And the area on the moon around craters Tycho and Clavius, one of my favorite parts of the southern lunar islands. And I captured this sequence of the lunar eclipse with my Dwarf 2.
Interesting, the two little squares. One has got real data in, but
yeah, it's I was trying to block out a star. And this is a kind of a fun one. This is the best time if you want to see or image the dog star, Sirius A, and its companion, Sirius B, also known as the Pup, because at this point, this year, they're the farthest apart from each other in their orbits. Blair McDonald captured this shot of the wide field Orion with a DSLR and a Star Trek. So pretty amazing what you can do with it. Pretty minimalistic set of equipment.
Something to do with the other telescope.
Exactly.
how long was that exposure?
What's that?
How long was that exposure?
30 minutes scope.
Yeah, only 30 minutes. Great. That's a great lens too. He used the Rokinon 135 millimeter. Yeah, I'd have to get you one of those.
Pinpoint stars.
And Messier 101, also from Blair. You can see the areas of hydrogen alpha emission there. And the Dolphin Nebula in Canis Major. Lovely shot. How long has he been working on this one, Blair?
2.5 years.
Yeah. Okay, this is the work of 2.5 years.
It's not a 2.5 year exposure.
No.
It's only up for sure. For times.
Little hill, and he took with a number of people, and he took a shot of the rising sun, partial solar eclipse. Again, if you go to John's Facebook page, Learn to Stargaze, he's got some streaming video of the of some of the ceremonies. There's a sunrise ceremony taking place at that time. Bob Russell captured this shot of Messier 106 and a number of nearby galaxies. At least 6 or 7 other galaxies. Probably more. Norman Schneiderman took this shot of the total lunar eclipse using his Sea Star. So the robotic telescopes really do well for imaging the sun and the moon and putting together time-lapse videos. Kathy Walker captured the shot of the Whirlpool Galaxy, Messier 51A and 51B. And lastly, we have Mary Lou Whitehorn's painting, The Total Lunar Eclipse. And a sequence of images showing moonset over Gunsight Peak, taken on March 7th at Yoho National. That's it for the montage this month. So now we come to our guest speaker. Judy Black will introduce him.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's nice to see a room full of people. Yay. I am really thrilled to introduce our next guest. I haven't had much encounter with David, but I have certainly seen him at meetings and had chances to chat with him at social events. But just to give you a little bit of his history, and I did find out that our paths crossed, sort of. David is a retired St. Mary's astronomer whose early career took him to Sudbury, which is about 3 hours from my hometown. That's why I would say paths crossed. And Sudbury is the site of the Sudbury and Lake Wanapitei impact structures, hence his interest in meteor craters. He's better known for his work on the chancel ceiling stars at St. John Church, which I think we've had a presentation here at the center about that in the past. And he's also taught courses in planetary astronomy during his career. He got asteroid 6898, named St. Mary's during the St. Mary's 2002 bicentennial celebration, and he initiated the meteorite collection here at St. Mary's. So I will now pass the floor over to David, and please welcome him.
You'll have to excuse me. At my age, I tend to forget a lot of things like names and things. So
Could you just come to this side? Is that all right?
all right, that's
Just
fine.
in case. The
This is
mic
my
better.
Okay, okay. You'll have to excuse me. As I said, at my age, I tend to forget a lot of things. Where I put things in our house, for example, or even in my office, and names. Now, it just so happened that even though I'm retired, I'm still somewhat active. I'm on the heritage group at St. John's Church in Lunenburg. And the chair of that group was Roger DeMoe until his death last fall. But to my surprise, 13 months ago, I got an email, I believe, first, and I phoned the fellow from Richard Wenzel, who was a friend of Roger's, and he wanted to know if he had a meteor crater on his lot, his wood lot. A bit of a story here. The area of Indian Point, there's a lot of elderly folks there living there. And one of the lots came up for sale over the years from the deaths of previous owners. So discussions with him led to an exchange of emails and exchange of images, first of all. This is what he sent me as the proof, because when I looked on Google Maps, I didn't see anything but forest in the area where he was pointing at. It's actually near the Indian Point graveyard, present graveyard, not the older one. And by the way, I should apologize for the use of the term Indian Point, which would be out of favor nowadays. Indigenous Point perhaps would be a better name, but it was originally named for the fact that, well, the original point at Indian Point was actually named Pleasant Point. And then they discovered bones of indigenous people in the area, so they renamed it Indian Point. That's what it's been going by for the last 90 years, maybe. This, according to my wife's cousin, Heather, who lives there. And in fact, a lot of her relatives lived there at one point. Her father is from Chester, and his older sister lived in Indian Point. Now, as you can see from this image up, which is a LiDAR image, there is in fact a circular type. Coming out a circular up there.
Yep.
Okay. From this angle, it looks elliptical. There is a feature, a rather interesting feature that is clearly circular. It's got a diameter of about 40 to 45 meters.
There is a laser.
And this, although it looks like something, is not. The area nowadays, if you were to walk there, would not be recognizable because all of this area is covered with forest. For a bit of an open space here, which is where the previous owner raised his cows, I'm told. The roadway is here. That's the Oakland Road leading to Indian Point. This is a swamp. It's a saltwater marsh here. And actually down here. Okay. And you can see that there's some drainage that's been taking place over the years. So this indeed does look like a circular feature with a rim. And the question is it a meteor crater or not? Now, if you look at the area where it is from the greater view, you can see the Oakland Road leading into the turnoff for Indian Point Road, and this continues. And the Mahone Bay is somewhere off in the direction of the pointer arrow. The saltwater marsh is here, and X, or the plus sign, marks the spot where the meteor crater is located. You can see the open field and houses along here. The Indian Point is up here, actually, what used to be Pleasant Point. Now, at the same scale, this is how the crater appears. And some things are noticeable. Well, you can see all the houses showing up along the Indian Point Road. There are other features that look almost like miniature craters. Here's one here, there's one up here, and there's one over here. In fact, there's a lovely one right about here, but I didn't include that section of the map. Off the, wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it, and now can't find it. The Sleepy Hollow Drive, Sleepy Hollow Road, is a rather larger feature. It looks like a crater. So I was immediately interested because my career has many times when I was able to visit meteor craters, including Meteor Crater, Arizona. But the Sudbury area has two, of course, Lake Wanapitei and the Sudbury Basin. And if you looked at more recent editions of the Observer's Handbook, you would find that there was only one, quote, meteor crater listed for Nova Scotia, an offshore feature, which is still somewhat uncertain. Even though back in 1995, I put in the Journal of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, another one which is in Nova Scotia under Laurentian Lake. There isn't much else to see in this image. And so I asked to see the site and was taken there twice. Actually, I visited the site. This is from the fall because it's a prettier picture, basically. This is not the crater. This is the nearby saltwater marsh to give you some idea of the flavor of the area, certainly in the fall colors. And the pathway in is also dramatic at that time. Richard has set up, as you can see, all sorts of lovely little boardwalk features to get over the marshy parts of the walkway in. And here is the crater itself from looking from the rim, south rim, with Richard in the middle holding. He's holding something. He should be holding up a stick. And this is what a 45 meter crater looks like from the outside rim. not much to see, right? In fact, if you looked at this, you would say it's not a meteor crater because it's got a lot of infill. It's got a lovely raised rim, which is highly symmetric, but nothing that stands out. The view, however, is quite nice. In fact, Richard is trying to build his dream house somewhere up on the top of the hill, looking down on all of this. Now, I did visit the site in April last year, deer tick season, as we call it. And fortunately, I survived. The site. This is the thing that happens when you have cameras, right? I thought to myself, well, I should take along my wide angle lens, took along my telescopic lens by mistake, so just to take a wide angle lens. But so I had to do a montage in order to get what you see here. This is in winter, and what you may not notice are all the black areas around here and here, which are deer scat, heavily populated. The view towards the marsh in the winter is a little bit more interesting because you can actually see the water at this time of the year. But I still love the fall. And Richard is trying to preserve all of the white pine, white birches because of the view, spectacular in that area. Now, I did take rock samples, quote, which I've brought along if you're interested. Nothing spectacular. Granite fragments mostly, but one interesting breccia, this one in the middle, which has quartz crystals embedded in it. Not sure what that is from. Whether these are fragments of the original impact is certainly not obvious, and I doubt whether any of them actually are. But there is another impact crater, which was pointed out to me back in 1995 by George Stevens, who now deceased, who was at Acadia University. He left me all his interesting stuff. This is in the journal if you want to refer to it. The journal articles are online, but not easily photocopied or anything like that. The Bloody Creek crater is in fact a doublet. And there's in fact other features up here, outliers from the original impact event. Now, if you don't know much about impact craters, many times they're doublets. The Clearwater Lakes in Quebec are a doublet crater. And this one is probably similar, something similar. Impacting objects for Earth, because of the gravitational field being a little bit higher, tend to break up. So this is not an uncommon feature, but what is the fact that it never got listed in the Observer's Handbook. I have no idea why. It is located under Laurentian Lake, which is a man-made, the Nova Scotia hydro, basically. And it sits in the valley just off Bridgetown, right about here. Now, there's nothing to mark it on maps. And yet, if you go to on Google Maps, you can actually see it by just putting your marker on the middle of Laurentian Lake, or Dalhousie Lake, and up pops the name Bloody Creek Crater. So Google Maps is ahead of the RASC for some reason. Now, the more important is the fact that, in fact, they're sort of lined up. Oh, what did it again? The two craters are sort of lined up along a northwest line, which is rather intriguing. The Bloody Creek crater itself is a doublet, which is sort of lined up on the northwest line as well. You go back to that previous slide. Doublet. you can sort of see that the fact that they're lined up almost in the northwest direction. So I'm wondering whether or not there was one event that sparked both craters or spew of craters associated with it. If you're interested in effect, there are other things that have been associated with it. The Ian Spooner, for example, of Acadia, has published another article on the Bloody Creek crater and this new doublet that he's found north of it. So there's lots of interest in the site. This is from Ian Spooner's article. So you can see that we do have impact structures. This has been proven, by the way, by magnetic sounding, both from the work by George Stevens, which I think is on the bottom for his crater, and by, if I got this right, by Ian Spooner on the top. A similar crater might be the Whitecourt crater in Alberta, which is comparable in size to what we've got here in Indian Point, but you can see it is much deeper. Not as much infall in the foothills of Alberta, and yet it has the same kind of appearance on LiDAR images. Circular structure. A better link to all of this is from Chuck O'Dale's website, if you'd like to go there. He has all of these things listed, plus all of the suspected craters and everything. And I've had some interesting correspondence with Chuck. He wants to put this site, this impact site, also on his web pages. Now, an interesting thing is I raised this with our retirees group executive last fall, and as soon as they heard about this, they said, "Why don't we have a field trip?" Except if you look at this site, you'll find that there's very little parking around that. Very little at all. And every time I've gone in, it's been an adventure, I'll tell you, to walk in most of the way. But what to look for? Well, from my past experience, I go back to Sudbury every now and then, but what can you see for a big impact site? The Sudbury Basin is actually kind of intriguing. You go to the airport, you can see it best driving there. You can see the ridge of hills along the north rim of the crater. So these are pictures of the north rim of the Sudbury impact basin. And just off to the northeast of the airport, you find Lake Wanapitei, which is also a younger impact site, but it's filled with water. This was a source of the drinking water in Sudbury. Nice cool water, even all year long. So yeah, there's not much to see at most impact basins, but when I was talking with Richard, he was telling me that he wanted to get rid of a lot of the trees and rocks on the site because they're just cluttering it up for building his dream home. And so I suggested to him that the easiest way for him to accomplish that was for me to advertise that this is in fact an impact basin. And all the rocks would be gone in no time. And this is Chuck O'Dale's also had the same experience when he pointed out the shatter cones visible at the Charlevoix crater site in Quebec. As soon as he pointed it out online, and next time he went back, shatter cones are all gone. Shatter cones, if you ever wonder, look like this. It took me a while to realize this. When I first went to Laurentian University, I would pass by this structure all the time on the roadway in. And these are shatter cones, conical structures, which look like Look at my own shatter cone. This is one I stumbled on near the house we lived in. You see the lovely little conical pattern. I had a number of these, but I gave up one for neighbor's grandson's birthday. Was it Pat? Christmas. Okay, we put together a rock kit for him. And to give you a sense of scale, they can be quite large, human size. This is my Ukrainian friend Elena, standing in front of the same shatter cones. They all have this lovely feathery appearance to them, if you ever come across them. I didn't realize there were other sites than Sudbury, but there apparently are a few. I don't think that the impact at Indian Point was strong enough to produce shatter cones, but who can tell? But again, what to look for if you're wondering. Oh, put in a plug for Sudbury, I guess, with a big nickel. The back front side and another one that you recognize. That's about it. I did bring along some. Actually, I got these from Tiffany, who is now the keeper of the meteorite collection. Our meteorite collection is not that large, but it was started around 1990, 91, when I happened to go to a conference in Boston. And there were two conferences that ran one after the other. I got there the day before my conference began, but while the other conference was winding up, and the people who were selling meteorites were actually packing up and wanting to get rid of any stock that they didn't want to take home with them. So I bought up whatever I could, or I think I spent $100 US. And this collection today would probably be worth about $500 to $1,000 US if you would try and sell it, buy it on the market. It's really quite intriguing. Of course, the thing that people go for are the irons, which are a nice thing. Dave Lane added to this. Dave Lane's. Oh, here's the one that Dave Lane. But irons are not very common, nor are stony irons. The most common type of meteorite is a chondrite. Chondrites look like. Okay. Well, there's there it is there. Chondrites look kind of funny. You'd have to come up and take a look at it. You can see some metallic particles in here as well. But they have all these little inclusions, spheroidal inclusions in them, which are melted rock that's been incorporated into a matrix. And that's the common feature of objects in the asteroid belt. The near side are like this. They're kind of light in color, grayish. The object that struck in Prince Edward Island this past summer was a chondrite, but was probably an encephate chondrite, the very light kind. They're on the inner part of the asteroid belt. The dark ones, the carbonaceous chondrites. Carbonaceous chondrites are dark color, dark gray, and things like that. But they also have chondrites, chondrules in them. So these are common on the far side of the asteroid belt. And yet the surfaces of the moons of Mars are like this for some reason. Go figure. So it's all very interesting. I mean, we're having events in the Maritimes, obviously, from the impact this past summer, but these are not making their way into the Observer's Handbook. I've actually contacted the current editor of the handbook about this, but nothing happened for the 1985 edition. The 2025 edition the 2025 edition looks exactly like the 2024 in terms of meteor impact craters. We now have probably 1, 2, 3, 4 impact sites here in Nova Scotia. 3 of them are underwater, and this one is the only one you can get to by land. Thanks.
Thanks, David. Are there any questions in here? Room, Paul?
I was just wondering if there was a way to connect those, like the double impact site with the Indian Point. So would you have to have rock samples of base, or would it have to be ejected material? Indicate they're the same, maybe the same region.
Well, you could connect them by age, that was possible, but for very small craters like this, that they're suspected to be post-glacial. In other words, within the last 10,000 years. That's how they're dated. The interesting thing about the Alberta crater is that they found a meteorite associated with it. That's how they knew it was that. Finding a meteorite associated with the Indian Point feature is going to be very difficult because of if it's that old, you know, at least 10,000 years of growth and decay. Adding to the soil.
Yeah.
I went to the old room. I had to look online, figure out where you guys were.
So we have some questions from the chat. Peter Jecky asked if any shadow cones found in your area.
Not yet.
Okay. And David Brown asked, has the area around the crater been checked with a metal detector?
No. I'd like to go through that area with a metal detector. I don't have one. So, I understand that they do at Acadia. I'm not sure whether they were interested in doing that. The people, Ian Spooner is spending more of his time in that area, basically, with the Oak Island treasure hunt.
How hard is it to get
The question was, how hard is it to get the LiDAR images?
I've gone online to try. There is a site you can go to get LiDAR images online. It's not easy to navigate through. This is the difficulty I've found, and I've relied on Richard, who I think had a friend send him images from the, let's say, the coverage also is somewhat sparse. Yes.
Explain the mechanics of the doublet. You said about how there's two impact craters associated with it.
Yes. Forming an impact doublet is simply, I think, a matter of a weak structure for the impactor coming in, and the fact that the Earth's gravitational field actually produces a tidal force as it comes in, which tends to disrupt the structure of the incoming rock, which is not necessarily that strong to begin with. By the way, a typical crater is about 20 times larger than the impactor itself, 10 to 20 times larger. So if this is a 40-meter diameter crater, the impactor would have been 2 meters, which is about bigger than me across. And if it totally fragmented, then there's not a heck of a lot left to search for in terms of impactor itself. For a big event, they can of course disintegrate completely. Yes.
What caused the initial interest in the site? I was walking through that swamp. It looked like a swamp to me, or a field. It looked like a bunch of trees. What causes the antenna to go up and think, I think I got a meteor crater on my property?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, see, the question is inquiring about what motivated the initial query, do I have a meteor crater on my territory, on my land? It's I am not sure. I should ask Richard that question sometime. I think he was going over the property looking for a nice place to put his dream home. Found a nice place on the north rim of the crater because it overlooked everything out to sea when there's no trees. But he wondered about this hole in the ground. Well, apparently an Acadia geologist came by as well, wondered about it, and thought it must be man-made. But something that large and completely symmetric it's difficult to conceive of that being man-made. So I suspect he thought the same thing and wondered whether or not it was extraterrestrial in origin. I don't know how any of this came up. I'm the innocent bystander in all of this.
I didn't mean to call you.
So Richard Duchesne has commented that if this is actually part of a multiple impact event due to asteroid breakup, then this likely wasn't an iron meteorite.
I would agree with
Richard Rowland.
Yeah, Rich
Rowland.
Rowland. Yeah. Thank you, Roland, for the question. I agree.
Another question?
David has a question.
Yeah, by the way, as I say, there's another site which is even larger off Sleepy Hollow Road, which I'd be interested in exploring. My health issues are such that going on hikes like this are not necessarily a thing I do anymore.
Got another question from Dave Chapman.
Yeah, not a question, but it's speaking as a former editor. I recall this subject coming up when I was editor. And the thing is, the editor's an editor. All of the articles in the handbook have authors, and they have their own criteria for stuff. So in defense of the current editor, he can't just go in and sort of add.
Oh, I know. No,
So the guy you have to work out on is John.
Yes, I know. I contacted the editor. The editor forwarded my message to John, and nothing was done. So
No, I mean, I remember looking into it at the time. All I can recall, because I'm more or less the same age as June, I don't remember much. But it was about 10 years ago, and what I recall is there was a certain amount of inertia, I guess I would call it. Not resistance and such, but it was a certain amount of inertia to include. One thought that comes to mind is like the smallest one that's listed is the Whitecourt.
yes,
There's 35.
yeah.
So I don't know if you start including 4 meteor craters of that size.
Will suddenly be full, and you'll end up with what has happened for the planetary satellites pages. There, you cannot. I cannot use the Observer's Handbook anymore to get the names of planetary satellites for Neptune, for example, because those pages are all
Guilty as
abbreviated.
I took them out because you can look it up online. Right?
Yeah.
So what we have in the handbook now are observable satellites.
Yeah.
Because it's an observer's.
Well, yes, and I completely agree. That's why I was very stunned by 1 year when in the open clusters section of the Observer's Handbook, the person who was in charge of it decided to cite the open cluster at the center of our galaxy.
Yeah, that was a weird. Anyway, lots of stories like that.
Yes.
But John Spray is the guy that you have to go down. Is he working out of New Brunswick?
I have no idea, no contact. But anyway, as I say, I think that's why I put the website for Chuck O'Dale's.
Because if you read his article, like, there's a whole bunch of criteria.
Yeah.
The first 3 or 4 of which are essential.
Well, the one in Dalhousie Lake is
Bloody Creek.
yeah, the Bloody Creek one is indeed they've got rock samples and
Well, yeah, that should be.
the magnetometer traces everything for it, so it should be a confirmed impact crater.
Matt, question.
Curious, is Meridian effort
you investigating along that like northwest line to see if there's anything for you?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, it's an inquiry about whether or not there's anything that has been searched for perhaps in the northwest line. Well, I've only just discovered it myself. And I don't know what I would be looking for. Smaller things that show up on LiDAR images, I'm not sure. So they say the one intriguing one is the one off, what's the name of this? Sleepy Hollow Road, which is close by. And it's even larger, if I got it correctly. And if you want to go visit the site, I can give you the information, contact information for Richard Wenzel. He'd be happy to show you around.
I guess this may be a sideline, but what drives the motivation to provide LiDAR images of any area? I mean, there's got to be something that's quite expensive process.
I gather they have been very essential for determining information about past historical sites. Yeah, there's
I'm talking about Nova Scotia.
or for Nova Scotia.
Okay, are there any more questions?
Very.
Zoom. Okay, so if there's no more questions, please join me in thanking David for a fascinating talk.
I'm leaving a lot of these things on the table for anyone who wants to look at it over the break.
Which we're going to have right now. So
Oh.
so people can come up and have a peek at the samples.
My souvenirs
15
include
minutes for the social.
fresh from Lake Wanapitei.
So we'll start again at 2:15. Okay, we're back. We're starting again, everyone. Okay, so next up is Paul Heath with his reading of his poem, All Seasons Night. Paul Heath.
I usually do my poem based on the topic of the night, but I did today's topic back in February. This is based on something that occurs during March, and it was discussed at our last meeting. I'm not sure, because of the weather, no one got a chance to do it this year. All Seasons Night. There is a race we all can run, held in darkness, hidden from the sun, beneath a clear starlit sky, warm attire and a cushioned seat required. The starter's gun, the setting sun. Ending whistle, the rising day begun. Between in darkness the race will be run. Unlike the rabbit, a nap, the race may help to win. From the first, a faint distant spiral's wisp, low upon night's twilight darkening sits. Till the last, a faint sparkling ball of jewels, low within sun's twilight brightening sits. A sight exacting you must choose. From ocean's sharp edge to eagle's soar, a sky unobstructed, your most essential need is. An obstacle course with clear planning set to gather fast pale wisp and sparkling gems. A full tally of wonders held hidden from the sun. Up leap the first flag to reach. Rapid your pencil, the sight to keep. On push, a tight fist of flags to grasp. A small pause, then onward the race to pace. Mid darkness, a brief rest allowed. As two seasons hold as one upon the sky. Then quick again, new flags to touch. Your pencil, the turning of the sky this track. If all factors, from sunset to sunrise align, and with exhausted joy your race within one night through all seasons have passed, the prize, held firm within your memory's grasp, the full tally of night's sun-hidden wonders now lie. Anybody know what that's about?
Great, thanks, Paul.
Hey, next up is Tony McGrath with news from the board.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick notes before I turn things over to Julie. She's got some information to share with you guys. Just before I turn things over to Judy, I wanted to say a couple of things about the St. Croix Scope Fund. We've kicked the process off. We're all very fortunate to have. Yeah, we're all very fortunate to have, through the generosity of a couple of members, a wonderful opportunity now to contribute to the ongoing maintenance of the St. Croix Observatory, which is certainly one of the jewels of Halifax Centre. So we have effectively a $10,000 matching funds. So every contribution is matched dollar for dollar up to $10,000. We kicked the fund off just about a month ago. We've reached about 15% of our goal to date. So we're very encouraged by the start of the thing. But give us some thought, and if you're able to participate, we would very much appreciate that contribution, and it will be matched dollar for dollar. Our objective with this fund is to be able to maintain St. Croix in perpetuity. So we're not, the monies that will be used from this fund will only be the interest that we earn through off the principal, and we use for annual maintenance and upgrade projects. And this is one of the things we're also working on, a maintenance and development plan for St. Croix, because St. Croix is a part of the members, and what the members want to do with St. Croix is important for us to know and to try to configure things so that it meets the expectations of the membership. So keen for everyone to participate in both of those things. In the Scope Fund, if you can participate, wonderful. And as well, think about St. Croix and how you view it and how it would work for you, and let us know. Judy, would you like to? Treasurer.
treasurer@halifax.rasc.ca. He's already switched it for me. Thank you. Nova Notes. As you know, it's our newsletter from the center. The January-February edition has been posted, and the deadline for the March-April edition that Lisa Ann gave us is April 15. So you've got 10 days to submit an article to it. So keep that in mind. And to reach Lisa Ann and John, our copy editor, it's Nova Notes editor at halifax.rasc.ca. Looks like Jerry's picture's used in a lot of locations.
I push it.
You'll have to switch it to something. Oh, sorry. I got it. Couple of notes to take note of. Please mark your calendars. These are our dark sky weekend coming up, both dates in August 15 to 18. This is held at Ketjum-Kujik National Park, a National Historic Site. The details will come up on our website as well as Ketjum-Kujik's once we get closer to that date. Right now, the details have not been determined. Nova East, it's August 22 to 25. It's during a new moon, so it will be dark. So come, please join us. The theme, as you can see here, is visual observing. The working group working on this, we're still coming up with, we have some ideas for talks and presentations. We've got some workshops. There'll be 2 main presentations, 2 workshops. The rest of the time is basically open. So that there's still the sky tour at night. There's still the, there will be something like the ACE astronomer, but we've got a little quirk we're hoping to add to it. So keep posted for that. But we are trying to focus in on all levels of visual observing, which is everything from naked eye to binocular to telescope to astroimaging. So it'll be a really exciting weekend. So please come join us. The SCO observing nights, they are on our website. What you have to do is when you log in is go to the observing tab at the very top. You'll get this page, and then you will see the list of observe with us. And that's the full year's dates of observing. Where I have the blue arrow, the August date, of course, has been canceled. And in lieu of that date, we've got a link to the Nova East Star Party. So that if you're wondering what's happening in August, our regular observing night is now our star party. So you can And as special events happen, we will certainly try and arrange things for that. Like one of the things we're thinking about, but have not arranged yet, is maybe there'll be a lunar observing night some night.
Just one thing on St. Croix, for those that had heard that the gate was damaged, which was, it's now repaired.
Ah,
So it's easy to get in.
I don't know if people heard that in Zoom land, but the gate apparently had the entry gate, locked gate.
Yeah.
Had been damaged, but is now repaired, so it should be easier access.
No longer need a hammer.
No longer need a hammer to get in, apparently. Our annual school barbecue. Traditionally, in years past, it was in June, but as you can appreciate, it gets dark later and the flies are horrendous. So we moved it to September. So the flies aren't quite so bad. It gets dark a little earlier. So we've determined that with the new moon on September 21, that we would have our barbecue slated for September 19th. If that's a rain, then we'll go to the 20th. If they both get rained out, we have the following weekend of the 19th or the 29th and 30th to play with. And that's the first quarter moon. So maybe the, sorry, that's wrong dates. Yeah, no, that's right. September 29th and 30th. So that way, that weekend, we can do some lunar observing as well as deep sky once the moon is set. So, sorry? You're right. So it should be the 26th and 27th. We'll look at that again. Thank you, Matt. We'll correct that when the memo goes out. That's my bad. I apologize. Hopefully you will have read the, I think it was the past weekly bulletin on April the 1st, actually, April Fool's Day. The monthly bulletin came out, and this was announced about the GA. It is April 26 and 27 this year. It is all virtual again. And yes, they recognized it was a new moon. So they quit the speeches and whatnot earlier in the day so that those of us that want to go out and observe during that new moon can therefore do so. But please register online, and I will give you this little heads up. Sorry? Yeah, no, I don't think so. But the, what do you call it? What did it say about that? Yes, when you go to register and you log in and you'll get a page, don't be afraid to scroll down because you get this great big, beautiful picture. You go, okay, well, where's my information? Just scroll down on the screen and you'll see it. So just keep that in mind. So tickets are now available. So hopefully we'll see some of you at, if not all of you, at our GA coming up. Also in that April 1st newsletter was this little tidbit, and NASA has a design challenge. Prizes are worth $1,225 US each. And the premise is that you design a zero gravity indicator, which is a small object that visually signals when a spacecraft enters microgravity for NASA's upcoming Artemis 2 mission around the moon. There's an informal webinar on April 8th that you need to register for. The submission date for your design is May 25 of this year. And please go to the monthly bulletin for the further details on it. But what's really cool is that there are 13 adult prizes worth that, but there are also prizes for kindergarten to grade 6 or 5, and grades 6 to 8, and then the 9 to 12. So there are also kids designing, maybe not the actual, I have a feeling there may be a logo or whatever that these kids can design too for the event, not just the ZGI. So is that something interesting to go look at? And if you're so inclined, please design. As you know, last month we had Robin Fort from National describe all the various awards. I want to keep that top of mind throughout the year. I mean, you only have 9 more months to think about this, so please think about it. The deadline for submission is December 31st of this year. Think about who the members of the RASC are, what you think they've done, and whether or not they're worthy of any one of these prizes. Now, the only one that we can't award per se is the President's Award, because that does come from the President. But the others, go online and look at what the criteria are and consider nominating someone. The other thing, while we're talking about awards, I went into our to the national website and was looking at the certificates for the observing and astroimaging certificates. Folks, our center has to get off its stuff and start working on their certificates. We've had no one nominated or awarded their certificates since 2023. That's 2 years. So let's get going. The other thing to note, it's come to my attention over the last month or more that maybe our members aren't updating their personal information, such as, for instance, has your email changed over the past year? Have you moved? Is your address or phone number changed? Please log into your membership and make sure that the information that they have for you is in fact accurate, because that's the only way they have of contacting you. So if you don't tell them, they won't know of any changes to that. So if you wouldn't mind just have a boo at it very quickly. And basically what you do is you go into secure.rasc.ca to log into your personal, or click on that login on the very first page of RASC and go from there. And then you'll get the forums and it says my account. And go in there. And that's it. Any questions? Oh, one of the other things I should mention about the GA is that 2 of our members are speakers at it. Jeremy Kuzub is going to talk about the Aurora and the citizen science project that he's been involved with the Aurora. And Tim Doucette, along with Stéphane Picard from New Brunswick, will be talking about ecotourism. So another reason to attend our GA. Thank you.
Okay, while Jerry's setting up the slides for the What's Up in the April Sky, just wanted to mention an outreach opportunity. The center's been invited to put a display up at the Discovery Center for International Astronomy Day on May 8th. 3rd, May 3rd. I don't know why the 8th is in May. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll have a table set up with different telescopes and that as we've done in the past, and answer questions from the public about astronomy and the RASC, and that'll run from 10 till 3. Weather permitting, we're going to try to do some solar observing. And then again, if the weather holds and it's clear, that evening, starting around 8:30, we'll set up on the boardwalk behind the Discovery Center and do some outreach, starting looking at the moon, and then as other brighter DSOs become visible, we'll have a look at those. And hopefully this will dovetail with the national RASC's project. They're going to have a live stream for International Astronomy Day from 7 Eastern Daylight Time onwards. And if we get the technology sorted out, we'll either broadcast live from the boardwalk and or send in some documentation, some video documentation of any solar observing we do. So if you're interested, contact myself or Peter Hurley, and we'll make sure you're kept informed with details for the Discovery Center outreach event. Okay, so what's up in the April sky? Okay, well, with between the time change and the advancing of the days, the days are getting longer. Okay, it's bright later. I know because I haven't been able to set up the image for polar alignment until about 9 o'clock at night. So the nights are getting shorter and the days longer. So by the end of the month, sunset will be at 8:18, and dusk won't end till nearly 10:30, and sunrise will be at just after 6. The sun has been a little quiet, although there have been some aurora outbreaks through March. This particular sunspot group, AR4048, is lined up nicely with the Earth, and it still has the potential to unleash M-class solar flares. It triggered an X-class solar flare earlier in the month, but it was just rotating into view on the eastern limb of the sun, so we didn't see any aurora as a result of that. The moon, a lot of interesting things to look at. The moon this month. On the 1st of April, the moon was very close to the Pleiades. I see that Lisa Ann took a picture of that and posted it on our Facebook page. On the 2nd, the moon was near Jupiter. On the 5th will be the first quarter of the birds laying eggs moon. And the moon will also be near Mars. So that's tonight. Probably not going to be able to see that. Never know. Maybe some clouds will break, some sucker holes. We'll see. On the 6th, the moon's near the Beehive, and on the 13th, it's full moon. Last quarter is on April 21st, followed by the Lyrid meteor shower peak on the 22nd. And on the 25th, the moon's near Saturn and Venus. The new moon's April 27th, Frog's croaking moon. And the month will end with the moon again near Jupiter.
What's the level of appearance?
Any 10 to 15 an hour. I'll speak a little more about that later on. So with binoculars on the 2nd, if you happen to look up, that's what you would have seen the moon, nice crescent near Jupiter. And tonight, if we get a break in the clouds, you'll see the moon and nearby Mars. And you don't have to stay up super late for that. 9:30 we'll do it.
What's the field of those two images? Do you have
This is with the typical
a couple of trees?
Bottom.
yeah, it's at the bottom. 7.1 degree for 7 by 50 binoculars around. And if you got the Celestron and Sky Masters, the 15 by 70s, it's 4.4. April 6th, so tomorrow, again, the forecast doesn't look great, but a nice sight of the moon near the Beehive cluster. So nice binocular targets. And here's a challenge for near the end of the month, on the 25th, in the field of view of 7 by 50 binoculars, you could see waning crescent moon, Venus, and Saturn on the same field of view. But it's a challenge because you have to get up at 5:30 and have a good eastern horizon. And on the 30th, this is when the moon is again near Jupiter. But if you observe this just at sunset, just after sunset, notice lots of nice constellations in the same general area: Auriga, Gemini, and Orion, and Canis Major. So that might be a nice wide field photo opportunity. If you're working on the lunar observations for Explore the Universe, or working on the Explore the Moon program, nights of April 3rd to 7th are the best nights to observe, draw, capture, this craters and other lunar features around this area. The planets this month, they are all going to be visible at some point. So Mercury is currently visible very low in the east. You almost need to be on a looking out over the ocean just before sunrise by I think by the second week of April. Venus is now the morning star, and it will be at its brightest on the 24th of April. Mars is still present in Gemini, quite obvious after sunset, crossing into Cancer on the 12th of April, and as I mentioned, close to the first quarter moon. Jupiter is still prominent in Taurus, but it sets before midnight. And as I mentioned, near the waxing crescent moon a few days ago, and near the waxing crescent moon again on the 30th of April. So just after the new. Saturn visible in the morning twilight by the end of the first week of April. And as I mentioned, it clusters with Venus and the waning crescent moon. Uranus is at the boundary between Aries and Taurus after sunset. If you're trying to catch a glimpse of Uranus, do it soon, because by the end of April, it'll no longer be visible. It'll be lost in the glare of the setting sun. And Neptune is still visible in the pre-dawn sky. It's in Pisces, and it will be there. You'll be able to see it by the last week of April. The Lyrian meteor shower. So as the name implies, the radiant is in the constellation Lyra. The predicted peak is 2 a.m. on April 22nd. This shower normally yields between 10 to 15 meteors per hour under a dark sky. But it has been known to produce bursts of activity of up to 100 meteors an hour. So you might get lucky. And it's also a shower where fireballs are possible. So you may catch a nice fireball if you stay up to look at these meteors. The best time to view will be after midnight, before the moon rises. So if you have access to dark skies around midnight, step out and have a look. Explore the universe, spring constellations to keep in mind. Ursa Major and Minor, Bootes, Leo, Virgo, and Libra. Spring stars, Arcturus, Spica, Regulus, Dubhe, Polaris, Denebula, Zubinel, Danubi, and Zubanesh Shamali are the spring stars you need to observe and make note of. And the deep sky object for April is Milot 111, also known as Colander 256. And you'll find this nice open cluster. It's a very large open cluster. So it's best viewed with binoculars. And you'll find it by looking south of this 4.4 magnitude star, Gamma Coma Berenices. And an easy double star for this month is Mizar and Alcor, found in the handle of the Big Dipper. It's a visual double star, and the jury's still out whether Mizar actually is gravitationally bound with Alcor. They have similar movement, but it's not clear whether they're actually a true double star. However, if you point a telescope at Mizar, you'll see that Mizar is actually a double star, Mizar A and B. Okay, so this is a fairly easy double to resolve as long as the scene's pretty good and you have a decent telescope. And if you're having a peek at Mizar and Alcor, You might notice another star in between the two. This is Sidus Ludovisiana, and it's 8th magnitude, but it's not part of the Mizar-Alcor system. Now, Mizar A and B, as well as Alcor, are themselves double stars, unresolved. Meaning you can't split them with a telescope. So in total, this is a 6-star system. So pretty neat. So any questions?
Going to be clear?
Well, I have looked at the Environment Canada, and it doesn't look too good until I think Thursday is the next night when there's might be some.
The appropriate answer is not unless he stops buying.
Yes, and yeah,
Not going to be clear.
yeah, I heard a rumor. Jerry has a C-star S30.
Will be.
Will be. Okay.
But it was won, not bought. Does that have an effect?
Oh,
No,
well,
you still gotta make up for all the other stuff.
yeah. Okay, so if there's no questions, thanks everyone for coming, and see you the next on the May meeting, and hopefully see some of you at the Discovery Center. Bye.
Thank you.
Please hang up and try again.